Hello.
I wasn't supposed to be back in town. College had ended a few weeks earlier, and my original plan was to spend the summer interning in Chicago. But the company rescinded half their summer offers due to budget issues, and mine was one of them. So, instead of starting my career in some downtown office, I found myself crashing on my uncle's couch back in the same small town I used to pray to escape. To make ends meet, I picked up a job delivering packages for a local courier service. Nothing glamorous, just boxes, signatures, and way too much time alone in a car with the radio playing the same 5 songs. But the pay was steady, and it gave me something to do while I figured out what came next. Most of the deliveries were boring. Suburban homes, retirees, the occasional grumpy dog. I didn't pay attention to the names on the labels. I just knocked, handed over the package, and left, until one afternoon. The sun was hot, the air sticky, and my AC had given up around noon. I pulled into a quiet cul-de-sac I hadn't visited in years, and that's when I saw it. The house, 2 stories, light gray siding, white shutters, big oak tree in the front yard. The kind of house that always looked exactly the same no matter how much time passed. My eyes drifted to the name on the shipping label, Catherine Langford. I froze. I hadn't heard that name in years. She used to be close with my mom. They worked at the same hospital back then. I remembered her as the woman with the soft voice and long brown hair who always brought lemon cookies when she visited. I must have been 10 or 11 the last time I saw her. Maybe younger. I stared at the label for a second longer, then got out of the car. Walking up the path felt surreal. I'd been here dozens of times as a kid, birthday parties, backyard barbecues, movie nights. Now I was 22, with stubble on my face and a delivery in my hands, wondering if she'd even remember me. I rang the doorbell. A pause. Then I heard footsteps, light, measured, and then the door opened. She stood there in a robe, pale blue one, cinched loosely at the waist. Her hair was damp, like she'd just stepped out of the shower, and her skin had that faint flushed glow that only comes from warm water and steam. She blinked in surprise, then tilted her head slightly, eyes locking with mine. "You're early," she said. It was the kind of phrase that should have been followed by a smile or a chuckle. But there was none. Just that. "You're early," like she had been expecting me. I opened my mouth to respond, but for a second, I couldn't remember why I was even there. My brain caught up a moment later. Sorry. Package delivery. For Catherine Langford. She blinked again, and something shifted in her expression. A flicker of recognition. "Ryan." I felt my face heat up. "Yeah. Hi." A beat passed. Then she smiled. It was soft and a little unsure, like she wasn't certain she was allowed to. "My God, you've grown up," she said, the words almost automatic. "Last time I saw you, you were what, 12? Something like that," I said. She stepped aside, gesturing for me to come in. Come in," she said. "I'm sorry. I thought you were someone else. I ordered groceries, and they usually arrive later in the afternoon." I hesitated at the threshold. "Really, it's fine. I don't want to." "Don't be silly," she said. "It's too hot to be standing out there." So I stepped in. The scent hit me first: rosemary, citrus, and something faintly floral. The house was dim and cool, blinds partially drawn against the afternoon heat. It looked almost exactly as I remembered it, down to the framed family photos in the hallway and the big mirror above the console table. "I was just getting out of the shower," she said, tugging her robe a little tighter. "Didn't expect company quite yet." I handed her the package. Not a problem, I said. She looked at it, barely glancing before setting it on the kitchen counter. You said you're working delivery now? She asked. For the summer. Internship plans fell through, so I'm back in town for a while. She nodded slowly. Well, it's good to see you. You've really changed. I wasn't sure how to take that, but the way she said it didn't feel like a throwaway line. Felt like she was actually looking. Thanks, I said awkwardly. She paused, studying me. Then, would you like some water? Or iced tea? I hesitated. I've got a few more stops, I said. But something in me didn't want to leave. The house was calm, cool, familiar, and there was something about her presence, older, but just as composed, that made me want to linger. I could take 5 minutes, I finished. She smiled. Lemon or mint? Mint. She turned toward the kitchen. As she moved, I caught myself watching her. The way the robe moved with her body, the bare skin of her legs, her hair still damp and clinging to the back of her neck. She wasn't the same woman I remembered, and I definitely wasn't the boy she used to know. She poured the tea into tall glasses, dropped in a few ice cubes, then handed me one. Our fingers brushed, just lightly, but I felt it, like a static shock, subtle and sharp. We sat at the small breakfast table near the window. The ice clinked in our glasses as we sipped. Silence settled, not uncomfortable but full, like we were both adjusting to the years that had passed in the blink of a door opening. How's your mom? She asked. She's good. She and Dad moved to Arizona last year. Retired early. Arizona, she mused. That sounds warm. It is. We both chuckled quietly. Then came the pause, long enough to notice, short enough not to call out. She looked at me again, more directly this time. You've really grown up, she said, repeating the phrase, but this time slower. It's strange seeing you like this. I keep expecting your voice to crack halfway through a sentence. I laughed. I think I got through that phase already. I can see that. Her eyes didn't leave mine for a moment too long. Then she looked down at her glass. I should let you get back to work, she said. But she didn't move. Yeah, I said, but I didn't move either. We sat like that for another few seconds. And then, almost reluctantly, she stood. Thanks for the tea, I said, rising as well. Any time, she replied, walking me to the door. I stepped out into the heat, the brightness momentarily blinding after the dim cool of her house. Ryan? She said, just as I reached the steps. I turned. If you're ever in the neighborhood again, she said, you don't need a package as an excuse. I nodded slowly. Got it. She smiled, not wide, not casual. Just a small, knowing smile. Then she closed the door, and I stood there for a second, staring at the wood grain, wondering why my heart was suddenly beating faster than it should have. I didn't go back the next day, or the day after that, but I thought about it, a lot more than I wanted to admit. I told myself it was nothing, just a strange moment, a blast from the past, nothing more. Catherine had always been kind to me when I was younger, like an extra aunt in the neighborhood. That was all this was, right? Except, it didn't feel like that. I kept replaying the moment she opened the door, the way her robe hung loose at the collarbone, the way she looked at me when she said, "You're early." That pause, that look, the soft smile that wasn't entirely maternal. It lingered. 3 days later, I found myself checking the system for delivery assignments in her area. I wasn't proud of it, but curiosity has a way of getting under your skin. That evening, after my shift ended early, I drove through her street anyway, slow, casual, pretending it was just coincidence. I was halfway past the house when I noticed her on the porch. She was watering the flowers in a big ceramic pot, one hand shielding her eyes from the low sun. She saw my car, and before I could decide whether to stop or keep going, she raised her hand in a wave. I pulled over. Her smile was almost amused as I climbed out. "Twice in 1 week? You'll spoil me." "Just driving through," I said. "Didn't expect to see you out." "Well, it's the only time of day these poor things don't wither instantly," she said, nodding at the flowers. "Want to come in? It's still cooler inside." I hesitated, but not for long. "Sure." She opened the front door, and again that familiar cool air hit me. Same soft light, same scent of citrus and something herbal. It felt like stepping out of the present and into some other time. Not childhood exactly, but something between now and then. She was wearing a light linen top and denim shorts. Nothing dramatic, but there was something in her ease, her bare feet on the hardwood, the way she tucked her hair behind one ear, that made her seem grounded, real. "I've got iced coffee," she said, "unless you're still a mint tea guy." "Coffee sounds good," I said, and followed her into the kitchen. She poured 2 glasses and handed me one, this time without any awkward brush of fingers. But something still passed between us, awareness, maybe, or the absence of words we weren't saying. We sat at the same small table, afternoon light filtering through the blinds. "So," she said, taking a sip, "how's the delivery life treating you?" "It's fine," I said. "Pays the bills. Gives me time to think." "Thinking too much is dangerous," she said, half smiling. I shrugged. "Only when the thoughts are about the past." Her eyes met mine. For a second, neither of us blinked. "Is that what you've been thinking about?" she asked softly. "Lately, yeah." She nodded slowly, her gaze drifting to the window. "Funny how some people can live just a few streets away for years, and you never see them. And then one delivery and suddenly—" She paused. "Suddenly the air feels different." I didn't know what to say to that, but I didn't have to. "Do you ever feel like time folds in on itself?" she continued. "Like someone steps through your door and suddenly you're 30 again, or 20, or—" She didn't finish the sentence. "I feel that way right now," I said. She looked at me again. "So do I." The room went quiet, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was full, the kind of silence that makes you aware of your heartbeat, your breath, the weight of the moment. "I was about to start dinner," she said. "Just something simple. Chicken, roasted veggies. Nothing fancy." I started to rise. "I don't want to keep you." She stood too. "Stay." Just that word. It didn't sound like an offer. It didn't sound casual. It sounded like something she had decided long before I got there. "Okay," I said. I followed her to the kitchen island, where she began chopping zucchini. I offered to help, and she handed me a cutting board without a word. We worked in quiet rhythm, passing knives, sharing space. At one point our hands touched again, reaching for the same bowl, and this time, neither of us moved away right away. "You cook often?" I asked, just to break the tension. "Often enough, when it feels worth it." She said it so simply, but it landed differently. When dinner was ready, we ate at the dining table instead of the smaller breakfast nook. She lit a couple of candles without comment, and we ate slowly, the conversation flowing in fits and starts. Family, travel, books, anything but what was really happening between us. but it was there, in every glance, every quiet smile, every pause before the next sentence. After we cleared the plates, she brought out a photo album from the shelf in the living room. "Do you remember this one?" she asked, flipping to a page where a much younger me sat cross-legged on her living room rug, a juice box in one hand and chocolate smeared across my cheek. I laughed. "Wow, that feels like a different lifetime." It kind of was. We turned pages, birthdays, Halloween costumes, summer pool days, all frozen in time. Her face in the photos looked the same, yet different. She had always carried that calmness, even in chaos. That's what I remembered most. There was one photo of the two of us. She was reading to me on the couch, my head against her arm, her hand resting on my shoulder. "You were always a quiet kid," she said. "I was just listening," I replied. She looked at me. "You still are." The silence after that line was unlike the others. This one had gravity, like something was about to shift. I set the album aside. "I should go," I said, even though every part of me didn't want to. She nodded slowly, as if that wasn't what she wanted either. I stood. She followed. At the door, I turned back. She was standing just a step away, arms loosely crossed, expression unreadable. "Thanks for dinner," I said. "Any time," she replied, then added, "Ryan." I looked up. "If I asked you to come by again, just to talk, would that be okay?" "Yeah," I said. "It would." Her smile this time was softer, but it reached her eyes. "I'm usually home after 5, she said, "and I keep the door open on warm nights." "I'll remember that." She nodded once, then opened the door. The sky was deep orange now, and the street was quiet. I stepped onto the porch but didn't move right away. Neither did she. "I meant what I said," she added. "You're not the same kid anymore." I met her gaze. "Neither are you." Her lips parted slightly, not in shock, but in some quiet acknowledgement. Then she stepped back inside, and I walked down the path, the sound of the door clicking shut behind me. But it didn't feel like an ending. Felt like a beginning that had been waiting. I told myself I wasn't going to show up again so soon. But 3 days later, I was standing at her doorstep. I didn't bring anything, no package, no excuse. Just me and the memory of her voice saying, "If I asked you to come by again, just to talk, would that be okay?" I knocked. The door opened within seconds. She was barefoot, wearing a soft gray t-shirt and black leggings. Casual, effortless. Her hair was pulled back, a few strands escaping around her cheeks. She didn't look surprised to see me. "I didn't think you'd come this week," she said, "but I'm glad you did. Wasn't sure if I should. I was hoping you would." She stepped aside. I walked in. This time, the silence wasn't awkward. It was familiar. The house felt the same and yet different, like something invisible had shifted since last time. She poured us wine, red this time, and we sat on the couch instead of the kitchen. The cushions were soft, sun-warmed. A jazz record played low in the background, scratchy and smooth. "You always liked Miles Davis," I said, recognizing the tune. She raised an eyebrow. "You remember that?" "I remember a lot." She sipped slowly, her eyes not leaving mine. "So do I." The music filled the space between words. She sat with one leg folded under her, body angled toward me. I sat back, fingers tracing the stem of the glass, trying not to show the nerves crawling just under my skin. "You seem different," she said after a while. "Quieter." "I've been thinking." "About what?" I looked at her. "You." That stopped her. She didn't look away. What about me? I let the pause hang there, deliberate. That I see you differently now. That maybe I've been seeing you differently for a while, but didn't let myself admit it. Her glass hovered midair, then slowly lowered to the table. She sat straighter. Not defensive, more alert, like something inside her had braced. "And what do you see now?" she asked, almost too quietly. I swallowed. "A woman I admire, someone I respect, someone I think about when I shouldn't." Silence. She took a breath, exhaled slowly. "You know there's a lot wrong with this." "I know," I said, "but that doesn't make it less real." Her gaze dropped to her lap, fingers tracing the edge of the cushion beside her. Her posture softened. Her guard slipped, just a little. "You're not a kid anymore," she said again. But this time it wasn't casual. It was a realization spoken aloud. A confession. "I haven't been for a long time," I replied. She looked up, and this time she didn't try to hide the weight in her eyes. "I've spent so long keeping parts of myself locked away," she said. "For safety, for reputation, for other people's comfort. I forgot what it felt like to be noticed, to be looked at the way you're looking at me right now." "How am I looking at you?" "Like you see me." "I do." Her hand, still on the cushion, inched slightly closer. I didn't overthink it. I reached out. My fingers found hers, not forcefully, just enough. Enough to say, "I'm here. I'm not afraid of this." She didn't pull away. She held on. The music played. The ice in our glasses had melted. Outside, the sky was fading into that deep, muted blue that only comes just after sunset. "I made dinner," she said suddenly. "Nothing fancy. Pasta, roasted vegetables, garlic bread." "I love garlic bread," I said. She smiled, small but real. "Good. You're staying then." It wasn't a question. Dinner was quiet, but not uncomfortable. We ate in the dining room again, the table lit by 2 candles and the soft glow from the kitchen. The plates clinked softly, our knees brushed beneath the table, and every now and then our eyes met and held. After the meal, we cleaned up together. She dried. I washed. A simple rhythm, but something about it felt intimate, like a life we could have had in some other version of the world. "You want dessert?" she asked, stacking the last plate. "What do you have?" She smirked. "Store-bought brownies." I chuckled. "Then I definitely want some." We sat back on the couch with small plates and fresh glasses of wine. The lights were low now, only one lamp glowing in the corner. The music had shifted to something softer, more ambient. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. She was sitting close, our thighs barely touching. And then she set her plate down, turned slightly toward me, and said, "I've been trying not to think about you." I looked at her. "Why?" "Because it scares me," she said. "Because I'm not supposed to." I set my plate down, matching her movement. "What scares you?" Her eyes flicked to mine, then to my lips, then back again. "That I'll let myself want this, and not know how to stop." I leaned in, slow, not to surprise her, but to let her stop me if she needed to. She didn't. Our lips met, soft, tentative at first, like testing the water. Her hand came to my jaw, and mine to her waist, and when we kissed again, it was deeper, real, no turning back. She made a soft sound, the kind of sound people only make when they're letting go of something heavy. We pulled apart slowly, foreheads touching. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I know, but it feels right," I finished. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. Instead, she stood up, took my hand, and led me down the hallway. We passed the photo-lined wall, past the coat closet, stopped at the bedroom door. She opened it, then turned to face me and said, "You're early." And this time it wasn't confusion in her voice. It was permission. Morning arrived slowly, the kind of morning where the sun doesn't burst through the window. It drips in quietly, like it knows the world is still asleep. Thin lines of gold painted the hardwood floor. The house was silent. No humming appliances, no traffic outside. Just birdsong, distant and soft, and the quiet rhythm of breath beside me. Catherine lay facing me, one arm tucked under the pillow, her hair scattered across the white sheets. She looked peaceful, not because everything was solved or simple, but because, for once, she wasn't hiding anything. Neither was I. I didn't move, didn't want to. I just watched her for a while, studied the way her lashes rested against her cheeks, the curve of her shoulder beneath the blanket, the faint smile that touched her lips in sleep, like her dreams were lighter than the reality she'd carried for so long. Eventually, her eyes fluttered open. She blinked a few times, adjusted to the light, then met my gaze. For a moment, we just looked at each other. No one said a word. And in that moment, I knew she was thinking the same thing I was. "What now?" "Morning," I said softly. "Hey," she replied, her voice still low with sleep. We lay there, neither of us moving. "I wasn't sure I'd wake up to you still here," she said, almost like an admission. I brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I didn't want to leave." She nodded, her hand finding mine beneath the covers. There was no rush to get dressed, no urgency to pretend. She eventually got up first, throwing on a robe, the same pale blue one from that first visit, and padded quietly to the kitchen. I found my clothes and followed. Coffee was already brewing when I walked in. She handed me a mug without saying anything. We stood side by side at the counter, sipping in silence, the kind that had weight and meaning, not discomfort. Her voice came carefully. "I haven't done something like this in a very long time." "I haven't either." She looked at me. "And I don't regret it." "Neither do I." Her hand reached out, touched my wrist. She didn't hold it, just rested her fingers there, like a reminder. "But it doesn't mean this won't be complicated," she said. I nodded. "I know." She leaned against the counter, staring into her coffee. "I keep thinking about what this would look like from the outside, what people would say, what your mother would say. I don't care what they think." She gave me a look, not dismissive but knowing. "Maybe not now, but you might." I stepped closer, gently took the mug from her hand and set it on the counter. "Catherine," I said, "last night didn't feel like a mistake. Not even close. I've never felt more seen. Not for who I was, but for who I am." Her lips parted, eyes searching mine. "You're making it hard to be careful. Maybe careful isn't what you need." She looked away, exhaled. "That's what scares me." We sat in the living room after breakfast, not curled together this time, just close, knees brushing. Felt like a breath between heartbeats. She told me about her divorce, the years of loneliness, of holding things together for everyone else. I told her about school, my parents moving away, the strange limbo I'd been in since graduation. We weren't lovers telling secrets. We were two people putting together pieces of a puzzle we hadn't known we shared. "I want to see you again," I said. She turned her head slowly. "You already are." "No, I mean beyond this. Not just nights that end with uncertainty. I want more." She was quiet for a long time. Then, so do I. The hours slipped by unnoticed. I stayed through the afternoon, helping her clean the upstairs hallway closet just because it gave us something to do. We teased each other, laughed at a box of old VHS tapes, fell into that quiet rhythm again, the one that felt dangerously natural. Eventually, I had to leave. My shift started the next morning, and I needed to be home. She walked me to the door, barefoot on the tile. Neither of us said what we were really thinking. When I stepped outside, the late sun was still warm, and for a moment I paused at the bottom of her steps. She was still standing in the doorway. "I'll text you," I said. She nodded. "Good." Then she added, "Don't wait too long." "I won't." She smiled. Small. Real. The door closed slowly behind me, but it didn't feel like it was shutting anything out. Felt like it was holding something in. Over the next few weeks, we carved out space. Stolen hours, quiet dinners, long walks after dark where our hands found each other in silence. We didn't label it, didn't flaunt it. We didn't owe the world an explanation. She stopped apologizing for being cautious. I stopped pretending I didn't feel something real. One night, after a quiet evening together, she sat beside me on the couch, legs folded beneath her, and said, "You know this might not be forever, right?" "I know," I said, "but I don't want to waste whatever this is trying to fit it into a box." "We don't have to," I told her. "We just have to live it." She leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder. That night, there were no promises, no plans, just the comfort of presence, of warmth, of two people who had collided in a moment neither of them expected, and decided not to walk away. Sometimes, when I drive past her house on a delivery route, I remember how it started. Just a name on a package. Just a door. Just one sentence. "You're early." But maybe that's exactly how the most meaningful things begin. Not on time. Not expected. Just when they're supposed to. And maybe, just maybe, I arrived in her life exactly when I needed to. And when she was finally ready to be seen.
Bye bye.